Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a circular loom weave daisy. For this project you will need a pair of scissors, an embroidery hoop or a small hoop, some warp thread and some yellow and white yarn. You also will need a measuring tape and a sewing needle or a darner's needle. We're going to first start by taking the outer section of the embroidery hoop off, and we're only going to be working with the inner section to start off with. We're then going to attach the warp thread onto the embroidery hoop. We want to make sure that we are doing this nice and tight, so I secure it with a couple of knots. You'll also want to make sure that you leave enough excess so that you can hang it up later on. We're going to first start off taking the long piece that is still attached to the warp thread ball, and we're going to take that to the opposite side of the hoop and wrap it around the outside, and then we're going to take it back up to the top slightly to the right of the first string, leaving a couple of centimeters gap. We're then going to take that thread around the outside and then go back across to the other side, slightly to the left of the first string, again leaving a couple of centimeters gap. Continue to crisscross over, leaving a few centimeters gap in between the strings. You'll want to have 15 strings in total. When you get to string number 15, leave a nice long length and cut it off the ball of thread. You're going to take the thread from string number 15 and bring it across the centre, and then tuck it through to the bottom. You're then going to bring the thread back up through the gap next to string number 15. Give this a nice tug and it will bring all the strings together in the centre. You're then going to take that string and bring it back down underneath the hoop and tie it at the very first string that you made, where you made those initial knots. And there you have your warp ready to go. Make sure you try and space out those strings evenly so you have the same spacing gaps in between. Next, we're going to do the centre of the daisy. For that, we're going to need our yellow yarn and our darner's needle or sewing needle. I cut an approximately 70 centimetre piece of yellow yarn and then I thread it through my needle. We are now going to be doing a tabby weave. Taking the yarn from the back of the hoop, we're going to thread it through one of the gaps. Make sure you leave a little bit of length at the back. Working in a clockwise direction, we are going to weave over the first string. We're then going to take the needle through the gap and weave it under the second string. Bringing the needle back up to the top again, we're going to weave over the third string. We're going to continue this technique weaving over, under, over, under. Once you're back at the start, it should continue to follow that pattern. So the first string where you went over the top, you're now going to go underneath it. The second string where you initially went under, you're now going to go over. You then want to carry on this tabby weave going over, under the strings. I go round 3 times in total. And there you have the centre of your daisy. Flipping the project over onto the back, I use the needle to slide under a few of the weaves to secure the yarn. I then leave a little bit of yarn and snip off the excess. We are now going to create 5 of those white petals. For each petal, I use 1 metre of white yarn. We will use 3 warp threads for each of the petals. Pick a gap to come up through and start your tabby weave over, under, over your 3 warp threads. When you start your tabby weave, make sure again you leave a little amount of excess of your white yarn at the back. You're now going to weave straight back in the direction you just came from. Again, continuing that tabby weave, so you'll now go under, over, under. Continue going back and forth over those 3 strings using the tabby weave. You can stop when you're happy with the size of the petal. I leave a small gap before I reach the edge. Once you're happy with the size of your petal, flip the project over and slide the needle under a few of your weaves to secure the yarn. I'm now going to repeat the same technique for the other 4 petals. Each time I'm using 3 of the warp strings and I'm using 1 meter of white yarn. Once you've completed all 5 petals, flip the project over onto the back. We are now going to secure all the leftover yarn. You can either find 2 pieces of yarn and make a double knot to secure them a little bit more, or you can immediately trim off the excess. With everything, I would leave a tiny amount of yarn on the back of the project just to make sure that it doesn't slide back underneath and start to open up again. We're now going to work on wrapping the outside of the embroidery hoop with yarn. Taking the outer part of your embroidery hoop, we're going to pop that back on and secure it. Make sure that it's nice and tight. I then cut 5 meters of the white yarn to wrap around the embroidery hoop. To start, I take one end of the white yarn and I double it back on itself. I then start wrapping nice and tightly around itself and around the entire hoop. The first time you wrap it around, you will want to overlap on itself. All the other times when you wrap it around, make sure you're sitting each of these side by side, making sure that you're not leaving any gaps. Make sure you're keeping the tension nice and tight as you wrap around to make sure that it doesn't come loose. Once you are back at the start, flip over your project and with your needle slide it behind some of your wrapped yarn. I like to do this a few times to make sure that it's extra secure. I then like to tie a double knot at the end of the yarn and trim off any excess. With the 2 leftover warp threads that we had from the beginning, tie a small knot in it so that we can hang it up. And there you have your completed circular loom weave daisy. For more fibre art how-to videos, subscribe to my channel. And if you're a beginner looking for tips, tricks and lots of useful information, I also have a podcast called Knot Weave Stitch, which you can find on a playlist on my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.